All right, so how is everyone doing out there as a viewer? But most importantly, as they ask themselves that, how are you all doing here? We got Martial Arts for Y, which he will be here soon. Noah, Soul, Sharkbait, and Hoshi. How are you all feeling?
Pretty
Uh,
good.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
They're doing well.
Excited for the second half of the split.
Oh, we are right. We kind of
We just started it.
Yeah, I think I would consider it kind of like tapped into the second half, right? Because on week 3, it's a little bit awkward because you're going through your first 7 rounds from 8 and 9 at the 7 and 8 on the last 2 time slots, and then 9 and 10 is the beginning of the first round of the second half again. So week 3s will always be like the end and the start of like of the split in the half. So what went on this past week so far? I mean, I think on our Twitter for PRL, I highlighted like 3 clips. One of them was a pentakill. I mean, that is impressive, but the other 2 clips were literally comebacks. And like, what do you guys think about these comebacks during in this week so far?
What matches were those? I would need to check. Give me 1 second. I watched most of them. I just don't remember.
Yeah, let me check too.
Let me see.
There's one game I remember where there's a team down 8k gold and they just found a bush that there was no vision in, killed everybody.
Yeah, it was with Cerberus Guardians versus the exhibition match team and Clutch Gaming. It was Clutch Gaming against Please Ban Quinn. So Clutch Gaming was actually, first of all, Please Ban Quinn impressed me a lot. You know, that was a proud moment of me to be watching these guys like that kind of growth that we saw similar to Iceborne Reborn in this past week, and they were dominating. Like, they looked really, really good. The only thing is that they kind of kept on pushing for these fights that they kind of just, tunneled vision, and on a pun, they actually did tunnel themselves too, right? That was the one where Paragon did the Feather Storm. He pulled it in, and then halfway as the interaction of the Feather Storms were coming, he did a Gale Force side swing for the last 2 like targets that were like on to his left. Like he did that so well to be able to kind of adjust all that damage from the feather daggers when he did the blade call. So it was really impressive to see. If you guys have not seen that. Yeah,
that was a big play. Yeah, I remember that one. Remember everybody went pretty wild when that happened. It was really interesting to watch. I thought Clutch was going to lose there, but they managed to claw their way back. But that's why they're the third best team in Solar so far.
I believe Flip and Zeta are tied, but we're up 1 on them just because we beat them in the 1 game.
Well, Zeta also beat Clutch, so if we are tied, then we have the tiebreaker, or they have our boys have the tiebreaker.
Well, we beat Zeta. That's what I'm saying. So it's like,
so just 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
There's not a 3-way tie. It's a 2-way tie.
There's not a.
You know what? Can we talk about that game? I mean,
Dorado versus Zeta?
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me. Zeta versus Flip.
Yeah.
That was a fun game.
It really was. Wasn't that the same day that Dorado did not take a win? Is that the one? Yeah.
Yeah, Zeta went 0-2 that week.
Went 0-2, yeah.
So not just did that surprise me, but Noble on the Eclipse division also went 0-2. Like it wasn't even just.
No, that wasn't the same week. Sorry,
wasn't?
The 0-2 for Zeta was 2 weeks ago. Noble was just this week that just passed.
Okay. But we can still talk about the 2 weeks ago. Yeah. We can talk about anything on this podcast.
The game we played against Zeta, that game was amazing. It's always fun going against Dalton. Such a good top player.
That game, it was rough. It was a rough week. They knew they had 2 tough opponents, and unfortunately, Matsy couldn't make it.
Did you ever play to his ability though?
Yeah. No, they played well. It's just they came out 0-2, but they learned from it, and I'd say they're even back stronger now. They learned from from their defeats and are ready to keep marching on to hopefully trying to
I love
get
that.
the championship.
I love that.
Now when
Much,
Matthew's
much.
here, we got to. When Matthew's back, we got to ban 2 people out. It's gonna be hard.
I love that about some of the orgs. Like, I know some people will tilt and then the whole org would disband and people will take things personally, but it's League of Legends. Like no matter how good you are, things can be still very unpredictable. Like,
You ever play top lane in solo queue?
things can be very unpredictable in League of Legends. So you can never absolutely like pinpoint a blame. You can only pinpoint a mistake and to fix it. Like what could have been, what should have been, like the woulda, coulda, shoulda, like, and I like that Dorado does that. Flip like burger. To your team too, Noah. I mean, I think your team actually fit right in, Noah. How does your team fit in with like all the rest of the veteran teams here?
Yeah, I mean we're just a group of guys that's been playing together for a little while. We got a couple people that we picked up. Basically, my top laner and my support are my roommates. So it's definitely an interesting environment when you go from losing a match to like you can't just like walk out the door and start flaming them. So
Yeah.
I mean it's pretty fun. We're enjoying it a lot. There's definitely a lot of competition, and we're improving quite a bit as players from the experience.
So I do want to bring up the news of a little bit of a change that I'm going to be doing, right? So our current ladder system for PRL has gaps in between and has created a limbo for players that are, like low tier diamond. So the Novice League after this split, it's only just going to get better for competitive players, because the ladder is going to be fixed up to where it's going to be a gold to low diamond league, high gold, or you know what, golds at this point are a risk factor to the competition, right? But golds, to me, like a gold player can easily learn and fix a potential to a plat level very fast, very quick. I think they can pick it up very quickly if they go into a competition where there's a higher skill level than them, but not too far where they just don't learn anything, right? Because right now, like a diamond 3 and diamond 4, it's basically just a shinier, more polished plat 1 ranking, right? But of course, if you're like 5 years diamond 3 or diamond 4, it's a little bit more polished than from a plat, like a high plat player.
Yeah, I think the difference is not that wide. I mean, on heavy impact specifically, like I'm the only plat player. Boop Bobby, who gets memed on in Twitch chat all the time. He's gold 2, and like he's probably a top 2, top 3 top laner in our division. So I don't think that rank is necessarily as big of an indicator, especially in the soup that is like the gold to plat range. It's not that big of an indicator of your actual individual skill and like what you bring to a team.
Whereas I faced people in silver, I faced people in masters. I've lost and beaten masters. I've lost and beaten silvers. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter.
When I used to compete, I think I was gold 4. I was gold 2, getting to platinum level, and I went into like one of those weekend free tournaments where you could get like the IP or the Rise champion skin. Don't know if doggo. Very pretty, very pretty. Is it a girl or a boy?
His name's Lucky. He's 11 years old.
11. My dog just turned 15, man. I don't even know where he is. But he just turned 15. He doesn't get lost. I lose him. But my first competitive game was against diamond players, like diamond 2, diamond 3 bot lane. And literally my first game I got smashed and dove on. And then on my next game after that, because it was double elimination, we actually did beat like a diamond team. And that diamond team, I mean, it was my first time knowing a competition. That diamond team immediately disbanded when they lost to a bunch of golds, right? And I was like, oh, I think they were really pissed. You know what I mean? Like they had to be so uncoordinated that they lost to a bunch of gold players, right?
Good lord, that's just embarrassing.
But
Oh, yeah.
that's the thing about that, right? Coordination, synergy, and gameplay. Forget about ranks. Like it's all about that skill cap. Skill cap cannot be measured.
Definitely. Yeah, comp's a completely different beast. I remember when we here at Dorado started playing, we decided to get into competitive, we had pretty high ranked players, right? Like, I had peaked like around like plat 1. So, I was like, I'm a good player, right? Like what are these guys gonna do? And then you jump in and then you're just getting smacked by everybody that has like this, this synergy and like, this competitive sense, like that, competitive league isn't the same as solo duo. And that, you can't just get 5 of your buddies and just jump in even if you guys are all good. You have to build that synergy and get to that level of other teams. And yeah, like an organized, gold low plat team will probably smack like like a kind of a misfit, high plat team that kind of just got jumbled together because at the end of the day, those macro things, the synergy, even drafting and team composition, they're so huge for being a successful team. And we can see that a lot, like even in our org, whenever we draft, I think typically we have pretty good drafts, but sometimes we outdraft ourselves and we end up in less favorable positions.
We can also maybe touch a little bit onto why that was a little bit of the case. So in NA, the pros in NA, they're handpicked and then put into a team, right? Professionals most likely in the LPL, in the LCK, and in the European circuits, they're not only just handpicked, but most of the teams work through all the ups and downs together and rise up to that professional level. You know what I mean? So it's not really all that much handpicked, and there's no gates between one org or one new organization through their success to be able to enter into the pro scene. Whereas right now, I think if you and a team were very successful, and then now you're at the gates of trying to enter the professional scene, and not every one of you will get picked. It will only be like one single person, or I don't know how the ending really works out, but I'm pretty sure they will go for like the highest pick and roll would be to pick like the most
Who stood out?
Yeah, like the MVP, right? Who won the MVP award? We'll just take that guy, right? Well, also I think what they do too is they get the top team winners, and then they get the top team players from those winners, and then they do like a SDC style lottery, right, to see who's in this division and that division, right? And they kind of just put them all together like that. So you're not playing with a team that you normally know. You're playing with a bunch of individuals that are trying to, I guess maybe show off their skill, right? So you might not have that energy because someone else wants to pull up a play when really you're probably mentally just trying to think about like, oh, how could a team play be synergized here instead of just trying to go wild, right?
Yeah, and I think what you brought up originally about the hand-picked players is kind of one of the arguments against franchising in the first place back in season 7 or 8, whichever it was that franchising came to North America, was that if there is this team of breakout Masters Challenger players that storm the North American scene, and they're beating everybody, it's not like that team can just promote to the LCS directly themselves. They have to get picked up by an org either as individuals or as a 5-man roster, and that's a much more tedious process than what was used to be. You could just beat people out in the promotion tournament.
You know what's weird though is that in our early years in amateur, poaching was a bad thing, but now that Riot is allowed to do that, it's a good thing, right? So it feels a little bit like poaching or gutting a team out instead of having that kind of org that did all these accomplishments. I mean, they all look good together, but then now they're doing separate things, other kind of like a retirement, I guess, right? And we don't want to see retirement. We actually want to see that talent continue. That would be something I would love to see too. But But right now, I think at this point that we know who actually is ruling the NA, right? Like with G2 Perks and other European players
It's
that are
definitely
really
not
good.
Cloud9 if you've been watching MSI.
Oh, I missed it, dude. I missed the MSI tonight.
It was horrible.
I mean, in fairness, Detonation Focus Me should have beat Damwon Gaming today. They had a bit of a throw where 5 people walked through a Victor ult, but they were breaking down Nexus towers against Damwon, and they threw. So
That was a really good game.
DFM is
Watch.
probably a lot stronger than people give them credit for.
I'll try to watch the Cloud9 game. I mean, that's one team I would always follow, like an NA talent. I do love the EU teams though, but I'm more like watching Fnatic and CS:GO or something like that. I always love that. It's pretty cool. Do you guys want to go back to PRL a little bit?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Sharkbait, how was your week in PRL? This week or last week, whatever you feel, man.
Pretty good. Pretty good. E5, still undefeated. We only played one game though, unfortunately. It was a lot closer than what I would have liked against Iceborne. They did have a good 5v5 and they stuck together, which is what they needed to do in order to beat us. We were split in a couple of dragon fights, which allowed them to stay in the game. Otherwise, I think we probably wipe them. Indian played really, really well in a lot of those fights. He clutched it up pretty hard. So I think he was the MVP of that game. But I mean, yeah, we were doing decent for our standards so far. But hopefully we can keep on getting better week by week and hopefully go all the way.
Let's see if I can pull up that power ranking. I know you guys. Well, actually, no.
Positional power rankings. We
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
do teams. Yeah, we're doing that for the end of the split.
We could go over some of these. I don't know if you guys have that pulled up. I mean, you could go to the.
I have it pulled up. I think that would be really interesting to discuss since we have 2 members of the committee here.
Sure.
Yeah. Not just that, because we also have our weekly, if we have them completed, our weekly rankings of teams. But players at this point, I mean, it's gonna matter the most because it starts coming down to what a team's main focus is now, right? Because normally you would focus on a general point of what you don't want to be cheesed by, and then when you go into playoffs, it's all about what kind of player should we shut down potentially, right? I think that's what happened with OG Kush this past week too. They kind of just shut him down. They banned his most playable champions when it comes to what do you call that, the hyper mid lane carry kind of potential from him, and it affected him so much. Like there was a lot more on the target banning and the drafting, just trying to making sure that OG Kush didn't do anything in that game, and that's exactly what happened.
Wait, do you mean these past games that just happened?
Yeah.
Well, in those, at least for ours, we actually target banned Tango Charlie, and I think he got target banned the next the next game too. I think that's who was target banned this week. OG Kush, we knew that, like, to us, we knew that he was gonna play a scaler no matter what, so we just didn't bother banning him out because we knew he was gonna pick like a Rise or a Vlad or a Victor or something. So there's really no point in wasting a ban on him.
Who saw that game of second game of Noble? Who saw that game?
I believe I did. I watched more.
I was
Yeah,
in
I
the
watched-
game.
I
so
watched a little bit of
didn't,
it,
I think.
What was that? Not just the most weirdest week for Tango Charlie. He did not play at his best at all.
Well, that's exactly what he's referring to. He got like target banned, so I think both teams decided to ban his Blitzcrank and his Thresh. And in our game, we actually 4-banned him, so he had to play Alistar. And in the game against Iceborne, I think he got target banned too, so he had to play Pike.
He was playing the
so-
Sharkbait impersonation of Alistar.
Yeah, Alistair was a bit questionable, I'd say. That was I remember we were just finished up our game and I turned over to look at the stream and I saw the Alistair and I saw the 0-7 and I immediately was worried.
Yeah, no, Tinko's a really good player, but
He
I
is.
would be a little worried if I was Noble because if other teams start using that same draft strategy, he's gonna have to learn more champions.
That's the thing about players. No matter how great they are, they could still be shut down. Like Tango
Yeah.
Charlie, I mean, just no flame there, but I think he just got outplayed by the whole strategy against him. And if he fails to acknowledge that, he's not gonna be thinking about increasing his champ pool to kind of try to soften that blow, trying to mitigate it. Because after that showing, if anyone catches whiff of it, it's gonna keep happening, most likely, right? Like that's the potential of that
Yeah, I'm
of that
pretty sure the whole
situation.
division knows though.
If anyone catches up, we just blow it out in a podcast. Hey, you beat Tango Charlie by doing this strategy.
Well, I mean, even if it was written in words or nothing said, it was still recorded on broadcast. Like you can fix up a copy of that kind of situation however you feel or however you work to it, right? Like that's the whole thing about VOD review, right? That's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be the #1 rank support as well, but it's like,
Because he
should
is
he really
good.
be number one? Yeah, no, he is, but it's like, should he really be #1 if you can only play 2 champions?
Well, I mean, not only if you can play, but those were the only two that have been picked consistently, and we haven't really seen a whole lot else. Plus, only going off of 3 weeks, we don't have a ton of games to go
Yeah.
off of. Because like I've mainly only played Alistair within the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all you play, so it doesn't matter.
I've been begging my team to let me expand, so I was able to play Pantheon last week, which is a lot of fun. I've been abusing him in solo duo, which is a lot of fun. It's fun hitting level 6 and ulting bot 13,000 times. Just ruin a Draven Leona's night. Feels amazing. It was funny. It was a fun game we played against. I forget what the team was called. Let me check.
How about you, Noah?
BBC, yeah.
Oh, what was the question again? Sorry.
No, it wasn't a question. It was just talking about players a little bit here.
Oh, the
Like-
rankings.
No, man, ignore about the rankings. We're all looking at the performances of players, right? You know,
Look at here, look at performances. Look at Should have dropped my knife. Sorry.
Okay, shark bait. He's popping.
Oh, brother.
You wish. Look at when we beat Kos Zeta. I mean, she's not Kos. God damn it. When
Dorado
we beat
Gaming.
Dorado Zeta.
yeah.
Dorado Zeta, right? You didn't have matches, so like, hey, statistically, they went from their top side. Well, their bot lane's really good. They just play through top because Dalton is incredibly skilled. So we're like, hey, we'll just ban them out. We did that. We played through bot lane because they put Dalton onto a tank, which is like kind of questionable. So we kind of straight up won off of it.
I mean, yeah, that'll happen when you ban 4 champions from any individual, which do well into a certain champion that you want to play. Like Orton's probably like the best pick that, or not the,
Yeah.
but like one of
It
the
was a
best
good
picks
pick.
to
I
go
think it was a
there.
good pick. I like Ornan to Renekton, and I mean, to be fair, he did solo.
He did solo
kill that
kill,
game.
yeah.
To be fair, I also dived him, but like things that like Orin is a great counterpick direction because like you get Bramble Vest level in the first wave and you just the way lanes it over for Renekton. And like I didn't play the lane perfectly well with my capabilities, but
Right.
still, even though he is like compare a fed Orn to a fed Volibear, right? Or a fed Wukong, it's a huge difference. Because Orn, yeah, he's a beefy boy, does some damage, but like Wukong is still almost as tanky and it's like 3 times the damage. So we just take out his main pick, which he's notable and great playing, such as the Volibear and the Wukong. They're just like he's kind of put into a boat, or to a situation where it's like, okay, I have to pick one of these champions. And the only thing he's shown to play before that was Camille and Darius. And I'll play Renekton to either one of those. I didn't expect the one to come out of him, which is very surprising. It was fun. But kind of just what
Yeah.
happened.
Reading from the document, what do you think about this, Hoshimi?
So Think about what.
No, I just wanted to bring you in and then mention a little bit on the misspell your name. I'll probably do that for the whole week, you know. But what do you think about some of the top players that may have underperformed or maybe even stuck to their performances this past week?
I guess I'll talk about the ADCs since that's the role I play. I think Layden and Duelist have both been like incredibly good so far throughout the whole split. Layden's only had one poor game, which was against me this last week, but he's still like really, really good. Um, Personally, I think Duelist should have been number one because I don't think anybody else on that team is anything too special besides maybe his support fortress. But he does a lot of the hard carrying. Indian here, like him sitting at number 3 with Shark as his support is like an incredible feat because he's
Huh? Hey,
extremely
hold up.
handicapped. So no, Indian's a really really good team fighter. He's a really good player. Joker, which is on my sister team, is extremely good like weak sider. He doesn't get much attention as well. And Paragon is kind of in the same vein as Joker. So I think the 80 pool is something that's really, really strong. It's something that's been really, really strong in PRL for like since we joined.
Yeah.
So that's something that always excites me when we return to play because there's a lot of talent in the bot lane.
Yeah, there's always been standout ADCs. Like even in past seasons, we had like Corey, JJ. There's a lot of talent in that area. It's always been a big competitive pool. But I mean, Hoshi won't say it, but I will. He's the best ADC in PRL. He's not on top of the list, but I don't see any ADC beating him. Bot lane, no matter the support.
It's a weak side ADC. That's what I would say.
Not even weak side ADC, just all around. Like I think he can play both. And just in my opinion, the fact that he's not number one is because maybe the rest of us haven't carried our weight to put him there. But I think if we had, he'd be the clear number one. Like I don't think it's a question.
I had the doubt of how everyone voted with the power rankings.
Yeah, and in fairness, yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like this reflects performance, which I mean that's what we're saying. Like, the numbers don't support him for this split. It's just like my personal opinion is that just outside of the rankings, just straight up, just the best ADC hero, and that's a hill I'll
Yeah.
die on.
No problem. I mean, hopefully it doesn't die with you, and you kind of just keep bringing it up and bringing it back alive, or because
you're right about that.
Because you also gotta know that even through patch notes, like lanes start changing up, right? So if all of a sudden they nerf bot lane ADCs that were like really notable for their performance are now underperforming because they have less health or doing less damage. The ADC now is kind of just good in growth because they did buff the entire lane itself, especially with the new items coming in, and their carry potential is just insane right now.
Like right now, the problem ADC has had, the big problem for ADC that I've noticed, like a lot of my friends have been saying, is that support's too impactful for their lane, and they don't come on early enough to decide the game. But now they deal with their mythics to the point where supports have a harder time trying to kill them. And they're able to poke through and kill these annoying tanks such as Leona and Alistar because of like the mythics.
Yeah.
Like a top lane, we only have two bruiser mythics because both Trinity and Divine Center are no one builds anymore because they're both kind of bad unless you're playing Camille. Early doesn't build either item anymore. They need the tank mythics, and the only tank mythics that build top is Sunfire and Iceborne. It's 4 mythics.
Yeah, I don't mean to speak for my bot lane necessarily, but I will say that from scrims and games with them, I feel like the most frustrating thing for bot laners right now is, maybe even going even or maybe even winning your lane, and then a Rumble just shows up with his ult and kills you, and then does it again in 40 seconds. And I feel like the jungle impact on bot lane, specifically in this meta with the just like power clear and then come straight bot, is it's a little high. And the teams that are most successful, like honestly, the teams that are most successful in PRL are the teams that play around this best.
But what do teams do?
I'll give you an example. A good thing to show jungle impact is when I played is the game we played last week, and I was playing Pantheon and Takale, and we had a rumble against a Volibear.
Yeah.
Volibear tried to come top level 3, but Rumble's in the bush and just basically one-shot the Volibear with me. Like, and almost all the damage was from Rumble. A Rumble with no items. Because they buffed the crap out of him for no reason. Another thing that I take advantage of as well is that, of course, ADCs are going to get melted by certain champs because that's how the role should be. You're not a tank. You're a ADC not supposed to be really tanky. That's why shield buzz when they nerf all the time, and they refuse to nerf the actual problem of it, which is the shield. Because I don't care if you heal more, I care that you're getting a giant shield as an ADC where it's half your health bar.
Yeah, and then you
Never-
combine it with like Lulu and Karma and all the other shields from the Moonstone. Like, you know, it just stacks. Like,
Another thing you gotta think about too is that right now, while people always say that only 2 AP mythics are good right now, but there isn't many AP mythics to begin with. Number one, and number two, there is no decent MR itemization in the game besides Stoneplate. Because like you try to build anything else, it's just like the build is so inefficient, and by void staff, you're a set of the game.
yeah.
You can be playing an Ornn or a Scion, you still get one shot by a Syndra. It's like, what the hell? Why
I
am
don't
I
think
tanking?
you do. I think that against AP champions, like I mean, against AP champions, HP is like even more effective than against AD champions, right? So it's like if they have one AP threat on the team with just your default mythic item, you're usually good off of MR, unless like they specifically itemize to melt you as a tank. But if you're playing like against the Syndra with like a Ludens, like that's the only AP threat on their team, you're good off of just HP stacking and the MR that you get off of your like
Yeah,
Sunfire cape or
like build that's right
whatever.
now. Like, I'll give you an example for my Scion build. When I can play Scion top, yeah, everyone knows it's Sunfire and Titanic and Starix in either order. But usually, you don't care about it more because you just don't have any use for it. Like, I'll sit on just a little 450 gold MR item for the first like 20 minutes because like there's no reason to upgrade it. Even
I think
like,
maybe that's why you're getting melted, to be honest. Because I mean, Spirit Visage gives you like extra shield power, right? So if you're farming well, you get it. You're maxing W second. You get like a really fat shield, like off a really short cooldown. You know you get the CDR reduction from Spirit Visage. So definitely stacks. Like you don't need to build Titanic into Sterex. You just go true tank. You do enough damage, and you're just eating anything that most AP mages can throw at you. And I mean, there is tank buster AP mages, right? But that's their job. Like, I'm not gonna complain because the Cassiopeia is beating my ass as a tank, right? Like,
well, the
that's what
Cass
she
is
does.
tanks. I mean, like getting one shot. That's just annoying.
I feel like honestly the biggest problem that tank players have with mages right now is they are too in love with their plated steel caps. Don't get me wrong, plated steel caps are really strong, especially into the side lane champions like Wukong, Camille, Jax, things like that. But if you just get your mythic item and some merc treads, you can just sit on that MR and stack armor. From what I've seen, of course, you know I've been playing things like the Udyr and like the Hecarim, who don't necessarily have to sit in a side lane with these champs. But if you can survive your lane without plated steel caps and maybe sack a few extra creeps and try not to trade with them, you get that extra MR and the tenacity from the merc treads, and it goes a long way as far as making you feel less one-shottable.
Yeah.
Problem
Uh,
with
t-
I would say comparing Merchants and Ninja Tab Eyes is that I'm calling it Ninja Tab Eyes because I'm old. But if you compare the differences between the two items, it's just huge because plate steel cups, while also giving you armor, it also makes you take less damage from autos and auto-based abilities. So like Darius W as an example, the crippling strike, and like Wukong's Q, makes it do less damage to you, which is arguably much more important because as a tank or as a bruiser, you're going to get CC'd eventually, and a lot of CC you can't ignore anyways. Like for me, I run double tap almost every game I run just so I can go tabbies because tabbies is so much better in almost every situation. Because like with the armor, right, from tabbies, you get it's like 20, 25, 30 armor.
Yeah. With the mitigation on like base attack, you know?
Yeah, you're right. You should go back to PRL.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we can just cut. To be honest, we can kind of just lead off into tank players and PRL top laners. I know, like there's a big split, right? Like in every season, some teams have like their carry top laners. I think uh, I think
But
Noah mentioned it, and I think your top laner is like is the Boo Bobby, right?
It's Bobby.
it's
Yeah.
Bobby,
Bobby.
right? Yeah, and he's like he's
Bobby.
one of like yeah, he's one of those like carry top laners. Plays aggressive champions. Like he loves his Irelia, and then like on the other hand, you have top laners like Milktra. That they love their
Ultra's a
tanks.
beast.
He
I
loves
love
his tanks. He loves his Ornn Malphite picks. So it's always been an interesting dynamic, and I think the best teams in PRL are those that have top laners that can do both, that are adaptable.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be better at one or the other. Maybe they're a better carry than they are a tank, or vice versa. But I think if we look at the most successful PRL teams just the past few seasons, um, it's never like they've had a kind of a passenger top laner, right? Like the top laner is just as talented as the rest of the team. And I'd say like maybe teams that struggle a little more, I would say that maybe they have like a fill top laner. I feel like maybe top is the easiest to fill, but at the end of the day, those are the little qualities that you notice when you're comparing maybe high teams to lower teams. And
The
that's just my opinion. That's just like kind of the way I see it. Maybe I'm wrong,
But it's
but that's kind of what
competitive,
I've noticed.
so that could really be a very good factor, for that kind of pattern of stat.
Coming from a management standpoint as well, top laners are like, at least in my opinion, the hardest to find. Say I can find 30, 80 carries and junglers and they're looking for team channel. But like
Yeah.
finding a top laner is hard. Like I put a message out there like I think 4 months ago when the winter split ended, and I'm still getting messages today saying, "Oh, you're looking for a team," because like that's how in demand top laners are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least from a competitive standpoint, definitely. They're at a low supply but high demand for like actual for top lanes that are very versatile. But it's there's a lot of great top laners though. Like I mean, you see in Eclipse, we see Coterie, we see Bobby, and in
Moonshot,
solo.
dude.
Yep,
Oh, he pulled up some crazy things this week, man. Moonshot.
yeah, and then like in solo, you have like you have even better top laners or just as good ones. You have Marshall, you have Dalton, you have Milktraw. I mean, if I remember anybody, like the people I'm naming aren't exhaustive, right? Like there's probably great top laners that I didn't mention, but
Right.
it's exciting to see all these top lane talents here, and it's always exciting to face off against them. Seeing their styles clash. Maybe it's not as exciting when you watch two tank players go at it, but any other combination is always pretty fun to watch.
I mean, it's not even all about excitement, right? The excitement and the fun in the game comes up from winning, but
Yeah.
it's all about how they did it to win it, right? Like if it didn't go for full on, you pick Camille, I'm picking Jax, or you're picking Camille and I'm picking something like Shen or Ornn or something like that, right? Like,
Yeah.
it just makes team fightings better or look good for viewing, because you didn't go for win lane win game. You went for, we're gonna do everything to our power, to our composition's ability to win game. So it's not gonna be Camille every game or Yasuo every game 11-1 and it's all GGs, and
Yeah.
you go back to going back to that solo queue button. It's not like that. Everyone's looking to win, and if there's a person or a player that needs to be stopped, like, I love to see how they did it, and what was the strategy behind it, and the planning, because if you plan one player, sure, that's 1 out of 5 though. Like what about the rest? How are you doing that at the same time? Like,
Yeah.
Tank shots are like very underestimated right now in the top lane because like Gracia Undying right now is probably the best rune for top laners in general, unless you're a long trade champion, such as Darius or Aurelia.
right.
Just because you get so much added tankiness if you're able to proc your grass. Like, as an example, I'm even playing Grasping the Undying tank Renekton in scrims. Just because of how good the rune is and able to actually take a really good advantage of it. And the build is disgusting. And I've played against all these great top laners, and there's nothing you can do against it because it's just so prominent in lane. Because it's just Grasping the Undying. I do the same thing. I do the same thing on Ornn. I do the same thing on Sion, where I don't build damage. I just have Sunfire.
Yeah.
But yeah, enough about top laners. Let's talk about some of
Uh,
PRL's mid laners, which is pretty exciting too. But Solar, I think Solar here has all of the mid lane talent. It's always interesting watching Solar, watching Nuffy's, Grugs, and Auto face off. I have the pleasure of having played with all three of them, and getting to know them. They're all monster mid laners, but at the end of the day, they've definitely earned their top three spots. But I'm looking forward to watching them face off again in this
It,
return leg of the spring split.
it's always an honor, even for like my standpoint too, to even start looking at new star players coming up, right? Because our old ones, I mean, they're still good. There's nothing been bad about them. But there's these like new players that always come in, and you always have to
Yeah.
assume someone's gonna be better than you, but
Yeah.
at something. Like every row, and specifically even mid lane, is like super closely tight to what every mid laner does. So
Yeah, mid laners are so important.
so for like Smash Barn, our previous winners of the split, right? They said that they literally won most of their games, or all their games, and went through the entire tournament almost undefeated, was because they didn't punish their mid lane. Their mid laner was playing champions like Corki, LeBlanc, Anivia. He was playing something that is kind of balanced, but also lets him roam a lot. So mid laners that roam a lot are toned to be a lot more successful than those that sit, you know? But then again, you have a sitting mid laner that's playing like a Victor or a Cassio, and yeah, the teammates might be dying left or right, but if that person gets like to the power spike point, then it's like it's a whole different kind of aspect of how a mid laner can also tie the game up. Like so I don't know, it's super weird. If your mid lane is doing good and succeeds, the whole team has to be able to follow up and execute, because if they don't, it's a little bit too late. Mid laner starts falling in power and strength and in priority, because literally that's what mid lane is, right? You're controlling the entire center of that Summoner's Rift for dragons and for Rift Heralds.
Yeah, I feel like as far as mid laners go, there's like two pretty distinct styles that I've seen from watching games, not only in PRL but in like the professional level as well. It's like you have the control mage players, the marksman players who want to try to just sit in their lane, farm, get an advantage, scale, that kind of things. Like OG Kush being the quintessential PRL player to do this. And then you have the mid laners who try to team up with their jungler, roam, 4-man bot, 3-man top, these kind of things. And something that honestly Heavy Impact is coming to learn through scrims and games is that it's a really high execution playstyle to have a roaming mid laner like that. You things are great, and you have like 7 kills, and then all of a sudden one of those plays doesn't go wrong. You maybe give over a shutdown. You lose a fight in a way you weren't expecting, and that mid laner that has just been quietly sitting up farming mid is now just gonna kind of 1v9 the game. So I think that playstyle is definitely powerful, and there's a place for it in League, but it's a lot harder to execute. And I think a lot of the teams, from what I've seen, are just not super bought into the high execution, easy to mess up playstyle.
Yeah, the mid lane, not just only the center of the entire Summoner's Rift, but it is also the easiest to kind of be stuck at the mid, because the minion waves, I mean, it's the shortest route to the Nexus, right? Like if you're gonna run towards from Nexus to Nexus, you're not going top, you're not going bot, you're going straight down the middle, right? So minions are coming in a lot faster, your levels are coming in quicker, and potentially even your power spikes. But because of how fast the minions are coming in, you also have to be very, very quick on your recalls, your buys. You have to be very effective on your buys too, because if you don't want to miss too much CS, you can't be recalling all the time, right? So you gotta be very efficient with your buys, and with your roams, because the moment you roam, you're going to be the only lane that loses so much more on the CS or on the minion count than any other lane that roams too. because you don't have that much of a timer before minions and CS just starts dying on their own, right? Or if your mid gets pushed in, and if your mid gets pushed in, then that means the other opposing mid laner can just disappear off the face of the map, right? And then you don't even know what he's doing, but 100% sure they know exactly what you're going to be doing. You're going to be under your tower clearing that wave, and they're going to be doing whatever they want with that type of priority.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's just about how good of a synergy you can build with your jungler, right? Like if the mid laner and the jungler are pretty much like in perfect sync, they move around as a unit, they gather presence all over the map. And I mean, in our team, we can see Veneris and Water Bear. When they're clicking, when they're in sync, like they just take over the map. They're super oppressive, and it's definitely a strong play style. Obviously, playing safe, playing champions like Oriana or Seraphine, and waiting for team fights is a preferred strategy. But if you can take over the game early with good roams and good wave management, um, I'd say that's probably the way to go. I mean, you can see Nuffy's moves around a lot early, right? Like
Yeah.
and you can also see like King What's His Face, right? Like King What's His Face hates staying in his
Oh,
lane.
the
He definitely
Galio
loves.
ults, right? That's
Mhm.
what he was doing all week. He was doing like these Galio massive ults. Like
Yeah, he definitely loves leaving his lane to go roam and assist other parts of the map. And players like that, it can be really oppressive if you don't counteract it properly, right? Um,
yeah,
but yeah, and I think the best mid laners are the ones that can do both, right? Um, I think that pretty much every mid laner on that top five has shown that to some degree they can play in both styles and absorb pressure, control their lane, be safe, or team up with their jungler, move around, and like you said, 4-man bottom, 3-man top, invade the jungle, do whatever they need to do. I think every one of those players has shown that they can do that to one degree more or less. Maybe OG Kush, the least. He likes staying in lane and farming a little more than the others, but the rest of them for sure, they've shown that they can do both.
Kind of shows you how good Kush is too at his playstyle, to where he's pretty high ranked in the mid lane tier list, and he only plays really just one style.
Yeah, he's probably the best at what he does. He'll play a scaling mage mid. He'll just farm up. He'll go catch side lanes later on, and he'll be big and beefy for the fights. And it works out for Noble. They were undefeated before this week, so I mean, he's doing something right.
Yeah, he's a ticking time bomb that it has up until like this week been guaranteed to go off. So, he's definitely very good at it.
Hold on. I had a question for Noah. Noah, you're a jungler, correct?
Yeah, I am.
Since you're kind of the new guy on the block, I was curious what your opinion was on the jungle pool in PRL. Since I mean, most of us know a lot of the junglers that play in it, but I just wanted to kind of hear your take.
Yeah. So as a new guy coming in, I played jungle for most of my league career. I played top lane back in season 9 whenever I first jumped into competitive. But um, the jungle, to not be too brutally honest, has not been super impressive to me. Like the jungle players, I think I've lost one game, like as far as like individual performance wise, jungling. That was our first game against Dorado. It was an exhibition, and then there was a bit of a clown fight over a scuttle crab, I believe. Um, but aside from that, it's been pretty smooth sailing. We did drop a game last week to Rumble Jungle before we knew really how strong it was. Kind of learned pretty quickly on that one, but even then, it was a close game. We had a lot of winning chances, even though honestly we got draft gapped really hard there. Um, as far as like individual players, to be honest, like I don't think there are any. I don't keep up too heavily with Solar and Lunar. I'm really focused on my own division, Eclipse. So there could be standout junglers from either of those divisions that I'm not mentioning here. Don't take offense, guys, if I'm not mentioning you. But inside my division, I think all of the junglers are just a bunch of role players. Honestly, you don't have anybody who can like break out and carry a game that I've seen. It's just the people that in past patches you want to stick on the Udyrs, Hekarims, Lilias, and just say, all right, show up in my lane whenever you got your ult, and then go back to farming. I don't want to see you again. Whereas our team has a little bit different of a play style. We can break out things like the Kindred and like the ganking junglers, Elise, Lisa, and that kind of thing that I don't see from a lot of other teams.
Um, I guess I would disagree just because I got to stand up for my jungler, right? I got to say
Right, right.
that
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not water bear, right? Like but in our playoff match last season, I would say him more than any of us. He showed up to win. Like he showed up and he dominated the jungler. And I would say in terms of carry junglers, whenever we put him on the carry, whenever he's like, you know what, put me on a carry. Like I'm gonna put my backpack on. For the most part, he'll be like, I'll play the Udyr. I'll work around the team. I'll do this and that. But when he's like, give me the Kindred, give me like that hard carry champion, that Graves, that Olaf, um, I'll do it. That's someone that we can definitely trust. And we've had teams that like either in scrim or in games or in that playoff match, when he's on his carries and he's popping off, they're like, I've never felt so suffocated by a jungler. And
yeah.
like, some people have been like, it felt like we were playing against the best player in the league. When he's in that zone, maybe that game where we played against you guys, I don't remember exactly what he played, to be honest, what the draft was.
I think it was a Hecarim game.
Yeah.
Maybe there was that. Yeah, he doesn't usually play it too much. But if you look at like the Noble game that we just played
I
this
love
past
that.
week, he had that Kindred, right, and he was huge, like he was super strong. And
It,
he came in big that game. And when he's on and when he's there to carry, it's huge.
not just that, but the way you guys used Kindred, right, as a utility champion. They have Vladimir, they have this, yada yada. What can we do to mitigate all this damage? Well, Taric ult is good, but it takes some time. Kindred ult is just like Taric ult. You just can't move around outside of a circle, right? But the exact same effect of mitigating on any damage is still there. So the moment OG tries to get like massive like AoE damage plays, which if you're not careful, Vladimir can really one shot anyone too close that is not tanking enough for that damage. Vladimir literally did everything: rocket belt, boost in, flash, damage, lens respite. Okay, now I just did no damage. Like, that was such, OG should have maybe thought about more of a front to back gameplay at that point, but he probably was not thinking about that kind of technicality that you guys had, served up for him. He kind of played into it. Actually, you want him to be the front line and to try to be that first one to go and last one to come out kind of situation. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, I really liked it. I really liked how you guys played to that Kindred. Because with those type of games, you would think that Kindred will work in any game. No, it worked because of what it was served for in that game, and and that kind of feeling just makes me feel like there was just no other better pick than that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agree.
I got addicted to it, man. I just love technicality plays. I love when you all pull it off, and it just makes me super proud to watch those moments where it's all like, oh my goodness, these guys are learning.
Something also interesting about the Kindred into Vladimir specifically is that once you reach Kindred's threshold, you actually can't be healed until the effect is over. So if you're able to catch out of Vladimir and chunk him, and you maybe the Vladimir doesn't know this interaction or is a little bit uncomfortable under the heat that is a Kindred ult. If he uses a healing ability, it all goes to naught. So it's a pretty neat interaction there.
The only counter for that was not to pick up the Vladimir, or if you did pick up Vladimir, play a lot of front and back to try to bait out that Kindred ultimate. Otherwise, you can't do anything, or ban out Kindred if you're thinking about playing Vladimir into your team comp. Right, there were so many things that could have been done. And if anything too late, then obviously you gotta play to adjust in the game. So,
I was gonna say that's kind of where like the whole where I thought we all drafted him kind of came from.
Yeah.
Was that they picked up the Vlad pick 3, so that opened up the opportunity for us to not only counter pick him through mid lane, but also to counter pick him with the Kindred pick, right? So now he gets double counter picked. He gets played into Anivia, and now he plays into Kindred, and it's like, sure, it's your comfort champion, you're great on it, you carry on it a lot, but we just double countered you, and we're playing specifically to mitigate your late
It's
game effect.
competitive. It's competitive. People are gonna pick up on that vibe of yours. You know what I mean? You're always good to a certain extent. Like that's the whole ability of competitive. You're always good to a certain extent. In solo queue, you can one trick a champion that is just overall good to climb with, right? Like some Wukong player, right? Like with Wukong changes, this guy probably climbed to like challenger level Wukong. But is he a challenger level competitor? No, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just not possible because Wukong gets banned away, and all right, I'm gonna start playing like a high diamond player, but not like a challenge level, player on that kind of vertility. And that's a lot to think about in League of Legends, like those that one trick, it's so hard to trust them to just
Yeah.
look at them and be all like, okay, well, there's no rule to restrict you from picking any champion except for champions that can be exploited, cheated, or disabled. But at the same time, like if you do play that champion, you're playing at your above skill cap from everyone else by a lot. It's just an imbalance. And if we did allow one tricks, maybe we can put them on probation that they can't pick it or something. I don't know. It sounds ridiculous, but like when it comes to competitive, you want to try to get the skill gap to as closely as possible, right?
Yeah.
Not too high, and if it's too low, then that's at your own risk, right? But definitely not too high.
Yeah, that's true though. But on the other hand, I feel like teams take, like, if they want to take that risk of bringing in their one trick player, that's like on them, right? Like
and for anyone that doesn't ban, that's really on them too, right?
yeah, exactly.
Those are the teams that are literally not paying attention or don't care, or so there's so many different factors, right, that does happen.
Yeah, like we can see, like even last season, like you look at, I'm not gonna say any names.
You
but
don't have to. Yeah,
there was a certain top laner, he was doing great, popping off, but they never banned his 2 main champions, right? Or like only one of them would get banned, so he'd pick the other one. And he'd always perform well. But then come playoffs, both of them get banned, and like player kind of gets exposed, and it's kind of that, right? The teams that lost to that player, they deserve to lose because why didn't you ban him out, and vice versa. The team that had him, they also got exposed because now their top laner, which had up until then performed really well, now he got banned out, and he kind of got like quote unquote exposed. Um, I think if teams want to pick up players like that, power to them. If they're not punished for it, that's great. The other team deserves to like get ran over by their special champion. And if they do get banned out, that org deserves to lose too, because pick up a player with a bigger champion pool, I guess.
And that's the thing, right? Like we're trying to limit people like that, while if everyone was playing at the highest skill cap, like an uncapped league, like all that's acceptable no matter what. It just feels a little less acceptable at lower elos because of the skill cap. Everyone wants to play almost as close to the skill cap from each other as possible. But yeah, I mean that is still like that would be the responsibility of the team to understand to understand each other's champion pool, and not like try to make it seem like, hey, this guy is just smurfing, right? No, I mean it's like, yeah, he's really good with the champion, but if you don't ban it, you're really putting yourself at risk, and it doesn't even matter to what this player is playing when it comes to position too, right? Like it all comes to risk. It all comes to risk. If you know someone's really good at one thing, it's either you ban it or you don't. And if you don't, better have a plan for it, right?
Yeah. I guess that's pretty much all the positions but support. We haven't heard from Sharkbait in a little bit, so I guess I'll go ahead and ask him what he thinks about the support pool in PRL. Maybe bot lanes as a whole and bot lanes that he thinks are a threat to him in E5.
So yeah, I'll say to that. I think for yeah, I think for the bot lane, it'll always be kind of a little bit 80 carry dependent, because support can't really 1v2 the lane all the time. I think champions that can be aggressive and look to kill, at least for me, I tend to reward them more so than people playing enchanters or stuff that can like peel for the 80 carry like Braum, TK, stuff like that. Which for me is why I had Tango as the number one support. Playing the Thresh, the Thresh and the Blitzcrank, two really good playmaking supports. I think there's a few other good supports that weren't mentioned on the top 5 list, but just because their team isn't doing that great, it ends up bringing them down a little bit. Down the ship with them. As it will for most other positions. But I think Tango Charlie is a really good support. Again, you guys banned the Thresh and Blitzcrank. He got exposed a little bit. He did have to play the Alistair into the Morgana. That poor guy. That is such an unfun matchup. I feel for him there. But I think he's really good. I think Kibbles is a very diverse support. You can play both tank and gauge. You can peel. You can play enchanters. You can pick your poison. And he'll do whatever he wants to for the team that will end up fitting what they want. I think I'm not bad. I have more of a one type of play style that I prefer over a different or over the others. But if I have to dip into the other pools, then I will. I just prefer not to. I usually try to go more engaged, tanky type of supports rather than enchanters. But I know that they're not always going to be the best in every situation. But I think the Norseman, the Dorado support, is a very good support player. A couple of iffy games in terms of the team, which didn't make him look as good as what he could have. But I think he's really solid. I know what he does in terms of shot calling. So I know he's important to Dorado Gaming. The kid I think is a solid support.
Yeah, he had to
You
carry.
can play Thresh, Braum.
So
Hmm?
if you carry an Amoxity for a few games, you should automatically get at least a mention.
The man's downfall. Woo.
And
Fine, it happened.
man, Shark Bait,
What
I normally, if you look at any podcast I've ever put up, I normally don't do timestamps. I'm considering it when you popped up with all these hats on your head. Just like the highlight of the stream, the podcast. Like, check out how many hats. If you can count how many hats, Shark Bait hats. Oh my goodness, never mind. You ruined the whole reward of it.
He has more hats on than
dude.
champions he
My
plays.
bad,
It's
my bad.
crazy.
Yeah, damn, it's crazy. More than wins I think Dorado has, right? You guys
Right,
only
right.
3 or 4 maybe.
I
That's
only have 5 wins.
Oh yeah, 5. Oh, because the FFs. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't think there are that many good supports. There could be, but they're being held back by their team or their AD carry. Again, draft is a thing too, jungle pressure, all that. But I don't know, I think most other supports are pretty dog. They're not really a whole too much of a challenge.
Sheesh.
But again, AD carry support pretty much go hand in hand for the most part. But in terms of bot lanes, I think Tango and Leiden could do well against Indian and I, Kibbles and Joker, Hoshi and the Norseman. Uh, other than that, it'll take the enemy jungler to buy a tent from Walmart and pitch it down there, and just camp bot lane, all lane. Otherwise, we're gonna gap everybody, and it
You
won't
ain't
be
ready
close.
for Tea Garden flip like burger ready. You ain't ready for Tea Garden,
Oh,
bro.
I'm shaking. I'm shaking.
You ain't ready.
Oh yeah, I'm really nervous about that. T guard. Oh no.
You guys did not let Tea Garden go ever, man. Oh my goodness.
Hell no.
Why would we?
You guys are like he's like the deer that's just trying to drink the water from the lake, and then you crocodiles or sharks or whatever from the lake just come up and just grab him and start spinning, you know. And but he's a persistent deer, you know. He doesn't die from it, but he always comes back to try to drink from that same lake.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
No? Keeps on coming back, even when we don't want him to. But hey, well,
power to him to staying. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
yeah.
right.
He knows the rules. You know, he knows the rules.
How many times
Oh,
do we
yeah.
need to teach this a lesson, old man?
Oh
But
my goodness.
yeah, other than the people I listed, I can't really think of anybody else who could do that well, barring camp from the enemy jungler down bot lane. Otherwise, we're gonna gap everybody, and it won't even be a question about it.
There's so many good
But-
top players to this split, which is surprising. It's like last split was just like everyone knew who the top 5 was. This
Right.
split, anyone could be up there. It's
Yeah.
actually a lot of fun.
For sure.
It's a whole different type of candle to torch light, right? There's just so many different. There's a good variety. You know, I like it. There's a good variety.
Like last split, we had Jermican, Harmonica, and myself, MG Tomorrow, and I think Faulted.
Faulted was good. Faulson the season before, and
Faulted's always been decent. I would say he's definitely at least honorable mention for most times. He's a good player in general when it comes to Glacial.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's on Glacial Esports, right? Like, but
he took a break this split, and so I don't have Glacial right now.
yeah, that's fine. You know, everyone needs a break sometimes from competitive for a while. I mean, it's not the amount of stress, but it's like the amount of stress on top of all the work too, because everyone's pushing their limits. Like literally, everyone's pushing their limits to get better, to play the game, and because it's more fun when you at least played at your best. You know, it's
more fun when you win.
It's way more fun when you win, but it's just it's just a satisfying kind of win or loss kind of situation where it's all like, well, at least we played literally a good game, still lost because of I don't know what, but we didn't get four man Goomba stomped 11-minute game, or you know like I don't even know. It's just I'm not there with the players or on any team, obviously, right? But I can only imagine kind of like the stress that and the adrenaline pumps up when death timers are starting to kind of increase, slowly. It's like if we die now, we won't get to see each other for a minute, right? Like so you can't play recklessly,
Yeah. I was
For
gonna
sure,
say,
for sure.
since we kind of talked about most of the players and all the
Right.
roles, maybe we should go from division to division and talk about how strong those teams are. I think that could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, sure. Normally we do have the weekly writings of the teams. I still had to kind of ask for them to see how the updates are going so I can publish them. And then I have to check the Lunar rosters for eligible and ineligible players. But let's do it. Well, what do we got?
Okay. I guess let's start off with Solar. I know it only has 5 teams, but Marshall, you're a member of Flip Like Burger. You play against all those teams, so maybe you could like rank them 1 through 5 or something like that.
I would say the top 3 is negotiable between, of course, Flip Like Burger, Dorado Zeta, and Clutch. I think all 3 teams are just incredible. Playing as the other teams, like Please Ban Quinn, the other one, I forget their name.
Varsity Club.
Varsity Club. It's like they're good, but like they're not that good to the point of the other teams. Like they'll probably they're gonna scrap for playoffs, probably those two. But I can definitely see each team at least making an R2 in semis. Excuse me, not semis, just playoffs in general. Because they're all just good. Like, undeniably, they're just good teams. They're all well coordinated. They all have good players. They're not like
Clutch Gaming living their name out too, like literal literal Clutch gamers in that team. Like incredible.
Like, one thing I will say, Clutch and Zeta are just amazing when it comes to getting early leads. Like, it's actually just incredible how good they are getting leads early. Like, we beat each team just because of macro. That's really it. We just out macroed them. And we were joking about that in our comms.
But you
'Cause,
can.
Oh yeah, it's like, I think if they work on the macro, Zeta would probably be number one. And I would say that us and Clutch would be fighting for the second spot. It's just so much fun. I'm kind of sad that scoreboard dropped out.
Yeah,
And,
me too.
I mean, they didn't drop out of choice.
Yeah, but
Well played, Willendex.
was Pump My Veins really that good to be a diamond player? Come on now.
He
he was pretty good. He was really good.
He only
Yeah,
got to
he-
diamond player. You know,
Yeah,
like
like animosity. Come on now.
honestly, I think
Mm.
I think if we had like the new rules implemented a lot sooner, especially for this split, like
Right.
like they would have all still, or at least most of them still be like eligible for play.
Well, I think some of them were too high, anyways. Like, I think Money Bulldozer said he was like Diamond 2 or something. So that's
Oh
I
yeah,
think
that
that's
was too
definitely
high.
outside of the
Hey.
outside of the new rules.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it still is. I mean, it's kind of
Right.
debatable. With good discretion, like releasing all the content and discretion about what we think about a certain player. Because the fluctuation of Diamond 3 and 2 is super high. You know what I mean? Someone will look at it and be like, "Oh, wasn't he a Diamond 2 player?" You know, like think about it as challenger players, right? Those players are by default a Diamond 2 at the lowest, right? At the lowest level that they can be. But they can definitely go through a master, a grandmaster, or the challenger right back on that ladder, right? But for a Diamond 2 player, I mean, you can tell if he's absolutely a consistent Diamond 2 or a non-consistent Diamond 2 because of that, you know, up and down on the charts in between. And I don't know how long it would take or normally take, or what would inspire for a Diamond 2 level player to get into the Masters level or Grandmasters level, right? Because the moment I feel like the moment that they are potentially able to hit that mark, they most likely won't be a Diamond 3 ever again. You know, they will always be a Diamond 2, 1, and above. So it's very questionable about him being a Diamond 2 player, like being an actual Diamond 2 player, right? We would have to look at the graphs to see if
Right.
to see that kind of flux of, you know, that kind of flux of
Mhm.
just repeats, yeah.
Right.
But that's just
For
through my
sure,
mind.
for
I
sure.
don't know if it makes sense to anyone. That's just through
Right.
my mind, you know, like.
No, yeah. I pick up what you're laying down.
Okay.
Lunar Division, right?
Yeah. We can do Lunar. That's
E5
another
number
division. That's
one,
another
baby.
division that only has 5 teams. So it's quite
6
unfortunate.
teams, or yeah, 5 teams, and you got the 1 team coming in for the
All right.
exhibition matches. But E5 number 1, no doubt about it. We are the best team in Lunar. We've beaten every team. A couple of games have been way closer than what we would have liked, which were, I think, against Collective Valkyrie. They beat us first 10 minutes, and Iceborne was a good game, unfortunately. But yeah, we're E5 number 1, always has been, always will be. Number 2, I'd say probably Collective Valkyrie. They've done really well. They've beaten every other team so far. Only lost was to us. So you kind of have to put them above. ME Cerberus is probably number 3. They're a pretty solid team for sure. Iceborne Palace probably number 4, but not too far behind ME. And after that, who really cares? Like who's left? Chandy's Angels.
Channy's Angels,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Really proud of them because this is their second split with us, and we saw a lot of improvements with this team. I don't know if you guys remember Chandies because probably not. You know, they didn't hit.
I remember them.
I remember them. I like them.
They
Just took the split out.
they were the only team that was like a gold 4, gold 3 team. You know, everyone else again on their same average. And coming into this split, only some of their players has literally hit their highest of heights now, right? They have Diamond 1, Diamond 4, Platinum 1, Platinum 4s. Like they took, I mean, for any team that does not make playoffs, they have way more to prepare for next split than anyone. And I think, to me, just watching these guys, they literally took, you know, into consideration that we got to level up our experience together, right? And that's what they did. And their averages right now is still like a Platinum 4 average, I think, right?
Yeah. And yeah, you know, it's really good that they're doing better in terms of solo queue and whatnot. But unfortunately, with what you said about them, you know, or like what you said about them, like having, you know, time to prepare, I think it'll kind of just end up being like that for every split. Like they're just gonna, I don't know, I mean, unless they change up who they have in future or in the future, I don't think they're gonna, you know, improve so much. At least not in the next 2 splits. It'll be over a longer period of time to where they're gonna have to improve to fight for a playoff spot. But right now, I don't see that happening anytime soon, barring a roster change.
I would believe that can also be true. You know, I could believe that. But I also don't know their age group. They could be a bunch of kids, you know, of 13, between the ages of 13 to 18, literally just loving to play the game itself, and they're learning. And they could be like, by the time, like, what's a considered good rank between age and solo queue? Like does that matter a lot in perspective
no, I
of
think that
mentality?
varies way too much.
That's
Right,
true.
it does. But let's say someone's 25 years old and he's like a plat 3, right? Those kind of people.
Why are you talking about me?
Yeah, why are you flaming this, bro?
I'm not flaming.
It's me. It's literally me right now.
It's an absolute stat, you know. Like, it will take you a while for you to finally like get a good momentum going, and then eventually you'll break out of that like limbo. You get me? Like every age and level gets into a limbo, right? But if you look at younger like people, you know, there's some prodigies, believe it or not. There's some prodigies. There's some 15-year-old grandmaster working his way to the professional. Look at Blabber. Isn't Blabber like the youngest person there? He was in the academy.
Look at
like,
Viper, and like I think Viper's brother too is like he's like 6, he's like 15, I think 14.
He's like 14.
He's
But
challenger.
the thing about that age group though is that there's prodigies, and then there's like a consistent age group, right? The ones that are always learning, and then there's prodigies where they might not be as good as much, but they're the ones that pick up the quickest though. You know what I mean? They will catch up. And that's the mentality for competitive for anyone of that age group, where it's like, you know, yeah, they could be a bunch of gold players, but they could pick up on the game very quickly. And if you look at league stats too, between rankings of gold and plat, like it's a lot faster for gold players to pick up at a platinum level than it is for like you know, a plat to diamond level. It takes time. You know what I mean? So these guys that are gold right now, like they picked up quick. They're playing at an intermediate level now. They were at the basics at gold. Now they're playing at an intermediate. Now what are they doing? Take out a pen and pad and start writing out what everyone else is doing, right? And see where that goes from there. Like it's gonna be all to their dedication, but you can see it growing. You know how many? We never saw them win early game, and recently I've been seeing them win all their early games, but just poorly executed wins. That's it. You know. But recently they already did fix their early game, but they fixed their execution to victory. Now they're picking up, you know. I mean, You say Iceborne, Palace is fourth, but they lost to Chandy's Angels, so the fourth seed right now is Chandy's Angels.
Yeah.
And I can't wait
But-
for that. That's my rant on it. That's my rant.
Right.
On it.
No, for
Oh, my
sure.
God.
For sure.
And I love to see that growth. Like I'm glad
Yeah.
that I'm the capable person or league, or at least running a league where I don't kind of roadblock that kind of potential at all. So
Yeah. For sure. But then we have Eclipse left, right?
Yep.
oh yeah,
For
Eclipse. Let's
the
do
team
it.
ranking.
Eclipse with the biggest coin flip team in the world, Dorado Gaming. We'll take out the undefeated team pretty handily, and then we'll lose to a team that, if not for beating us, would only have one win in our division. So that was our story last week. We all saw. We beat Noble. We outdrafted them. We kind of just beat them all over the map. And then we go into hottie culture. They beat us the first game we played. We all saw that on stream. And then they beat us again. And like that's what I'm saying. Like if they hadn't beat us, they'd only have one win in this division. So that's just how we are. We're a coin flip team, but when we're on, when all cylinders are firing and we're taking, I'm not really sure there's many teams that can really hold us off. But when we when we kind of shit the bed a little bit, that's you can see the hottie culture type of games that show up from us. So I'd say that makes us an interesting team to place at least. But I think at least the standings, they I think they reflect the team's skills so far. At least in Eclipse, I think they're relatively accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if there was gonna be one team that drops, like that kind of stumbles, it would probably be Noble because I think the way that they draft is like really, really predictable. Like they're all really good individual players, but I think they're gonna have to switch it up a little bit because they kind of got a little bit exposed last week, and I think teams were watching and they caught on, and they're gonna be playing to that, so they need to be careful. I think Costa is like an inconsistent team as well. They're like on paper really, really stacked, but like when you watch their games, like they don't just stop teams. Like all their games are like really, really drawn out.
Yeah.
I'd say like overall our Eclipse division is like filled with above average teams, so like average teams. It's not like top stack like the other divisions are, but
Right.
I think everybody can kind of like beat everybody else. Like even our bottom teams, I say like Gifted Rifters and Heavy Impact could probably beat the bottom teams in like the other divisions. So I think it's like a good filled league or a good filled division, but we don't have like that championship contender
there's
in my opinion. And right now at the halfway point.
Yeah, Mox, you might be joining Costa.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that? How's that going to improve it? But seriously, though, yeah, it reminds me of last split. It's there's a lot of parity in the division. It's intense. It's like exciting to watch. But we're missing that superpower team. And like I said, Dorado when all cylinders are firing, when everything's clicking, we are that high tier team. But then it's a conflict, right? Like, is it who's gonna show up, right? Is it gonna be Zol or Zoel, bro? Who's gonna show up? Who's gonna show up to win today? And it's just, you know, yeah, we're missing that like that Dorado Zeta, that E5, that Clutch Gaming, that Flip Like Burger team, kind of, these dominant, we're here to
Yeah.
win. Look it up.
I don't know what games you watch. I think we're dominant. We're pretty bad, if to say so for myself. We're all dog shit besides Novice.
Oh, okay. Then I was just trying to be inclusive. I was like, Marshall's in here. I don't want to.
You know what?
They're in first place. I don't want to not
Marshall?
include it.
Marshall, we found your game for 8 p.m. Eastern Monday now. All right, we found it.
I guess I wanna ask Noah because he's kind of the new guy and he
Oh yeah.
since
He
he's
is.
like he's like new to the league, so he's kind of barely been exposed to these teams and these players. So I'm curious what he thinks
The
like the standings go.
The community too.
In
like,
Eclipse.
Yeah, I'd say as far as Eclipse before last week, I think there was a clear top four and a clear bottom four. that kind of got shaken up. A lot of the top 4 teams lost, a lot of the bottom 4 teams won. So it just kind of makes it interesting going into the next couple of weeks. Playoffs is really like I don't think anybody's locked for playoffs. I don't think that there's any team that can rest easy. Everybody's going to play hard and play well. And like you were saying, like anybody can lose to anybody. You know, we also have one of those top laners that are we going to get the Boo Bobby that gets a solo kill and then dies 3 times, or are we going to get the Boo Bobby that goes like 8-1 just on accident? So it's really time will tell for a lot of these teams. And honestly, something you guys were talking about earlier, I think Rye mentioned it, was Moonshot, who was just like quietly the best top laner last week, like not even close, just absolutely gapped both of his opponents on like bad matchups too. To my memory, I'm not really exactly sure what the matchups were, but I remember being surprised by it. And that was a guy who, to be honest, I'd completely written off as our first game against Iceborne was a 20-minute stomp. So I don't think that there's any team that can sleep easy going into these next weeks, and every team better be ready.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Iceborne as well has been they were kind of, in my opinion, one of the worser teams, and last week they showed a lot of signs of life. So I'm interested how they're gonna do. We play them next week, and that's gonna be an important game because if we lose, we'll be tied to them.
Yeah. Well, not even last week. Like I think it's been this past 2 weeks. I think Carrot, their coach, owner, whatever you want to call him,
Holy
He's a
Carrot,
he's talking about
amazing
how, yeah, Holy Carrot,
protege.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. He's been
doctor.
talking about how he's been like they've been working a lot on their drafts, and they've been like they've been doing really well in scrims, and
Yeah.
it shows like they've been doing really well. They've turned it around,
Their
and
their
yeah, like you guys
Iceborne
said,
Reborn
Moonshot has been
team.
playing well.
Yeah, their Iceborne Reborn is where you see where most of that work is actually succeeded in. Like they whatever the scrims how they went and all the process of improving the players. Reborn was the one that showed up the most so far, and they pulled in a huge clutch. Like Iceborne Palace, they're on the edge, unfortunately, right? Like losing to Chandy's Angels was their they had to win them to have a ticket into playoffs, because that is the only other standing team between them at the bottom to playoffs, right? And they lost to them. So Iceborne Palace, they gotta build a good momentum here, because from here on out, they're either gonna have some of these free games for them, or they're gonna be playing the rest of the season against the top 3 teams that are completely gapping in that group. So it's such a hard situation. I can feel for them. Iceborne Reborn, though, from their 2-0 and how they not just I mean, we didn't just see how Noble lost once. We saw them how they lost twice. Like this team Iceborne. I mean, I looked at the VOD. I was like, there's no way Noble went 2-0, and it absolutely happened. It's true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
very
but
commanding.
I think everyone should also be careful, right? Like to not write them off either. Like don't, teams playing them next week shouldn't go in like, oh, these guys are chumps. Free wins. At the end of the day, they're a threatening team, and I guess maybe in that, they were exposed so far as that there's a way to beat them or how to beat them, but they're definitely, teams going into them shouldn't be like, should still prepare accordingly and prepare properly if they want to win against Noble. And yeah, this 0-2 week doesn't really mean much. It's like pretty much like a similar story with Zeta, right? Like, they lost 0-2, but I doubt many people were like, yeah, these guys are chumps, right? Like we'll roll them. There's going to be an easy game. So I think something to keep in mind.
I'm just writing about the Syndra bug right now, because they're saying Syndra can put down a bond, you can teleport, which is very game breaking in competitive, because that requires nothing, right? Like you have to buy a ward or have a ward or something, right? That's a little bit of a strategy on how you conserve your own like trinkets and stuff like that. But you're not conservative if you're playing a Syndra. It's kind of similar to the Demacian standard from J4. It's just still very different. Like I don't think it's meant to be that way, right?
TP to it, but I'm supposed to teleport to Cinder
Yeah.
Balls.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's how it's supposed to function, but not the Syndra thing. I don't think that's supposed to function at
Totally
all.
desk.
Yeah. Anyways,
Program and desk.
what else is there to talk about, guys? I mean,
Definitely talking about champion picks. Like I've seen Volibear and Jinx for almost every game.
Oh yeah.
Like, Jesus, those champs are always there. It's like Lucian in 1v1 tournament. The champions never goes away.
Well, I don't think myself. I don't think Volibear is. I mean, he's good, but he doesn't feel as oppressive as like a Jinx, as a Rumble, as a Diana, like the other
Yeah.
top priority picks. Volibear, like I don't care if I play against him, but if I see Diana, it doesn't matter if I'm super fed. Like one combo and I'm banged out, and fucking fight's over. So it
I
can
feel
be
like we need
tough.
to pay more into her. Send it to the
Yeah.
boot realm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Jinx is definitely huge. I think at this point, she's definitely a prio pick for a lot of teams. She's really, really strong to play against. But surprisingly enough, she also doesn't feel unfair. Like I know we all know she's super strong, but it's like she succeeds because she's in a competitive team environment, right? Like a coordinated team is going to do a lot better with the Jinx than an uncoordinated one. That lets their Jinx get dove, or they get flanked. Um, and that's why I feel like Jinx is shining so much in PRL, for teams that can actually protect her and play around her. Because even in the Noble game, when like the one or two times where we failed to protect Hoshi as a team, right? Like Jinx didn't look broken, right? She looked dead because the Camille was popping her, and I think that's just the case of that champion. She's strong, maybe even OP, but definitely doesn't feel oppressive to play against. At least that's my opinion as a top laner.
Maybe the top lane meta has changed up quite a bit though from last split. Used to be just Shen, Ornn, and a few Mordekaisers in there and Volibear. That's really it. Now it's you've like so many different champs being played that you only
A lot more, yeah, a lot more Camille picks for sure. It's something that's been on the rise. People are playing more offensive orient, like more carry champions like Irelia. That's been Camille. Those two champions have been really big. At least from what I feel.
that's very fun to watch them because they're all flashy. But
Yeah.
besides Camille, she's not very hard to play. But I do very much enjoy the top lane pool being different because it means like I don't have to play the same matchup for 10 weeks. Well, hopefully 10 weeks if we make it that far.
Now yours will only be 8. But yeah, I get it.
But like I remember last split, I was playing Mordekaiser and Volibear into basically every Camille, and it would only be Camille. And the way I can ban it out, I'd rather just not ban it out because I'm so familiar with the matchup. It's just like it gets annoying after a while. That's why I'm happy the meta has changed up. The jungle meta too, because it used to be Hecarim and Udyr. Now it's Udyr and Volibear. No more Hecarim. Because seeing Hecarim.
Yeah, and we're seeing like the AP champions too, like Rumble, Diana, and Morg. They've really brought diversity to the jungle. Seeing those picks has been a lot more interesting instead of playing against Hecarim and Olaf and having them blow up your backline every single fight, and you feeling like what are you doing? I'm like as a top laner when you're trying to defend him, you're like, I can't do anything. I'm sorry. And it's a welcome change. Maybe Diana's still blowing up our ADC, but it feels, I guess, a tiny bit more fair. It's not an unstoppable.
Yeah, I just play more than 2 and I just say, hey, you want to go on my ADC? You're going to go on nothing. You're going to go with me. And it's awesome. Or I play Poppy, I play Ornn, I play Scion, just the peel effectively.
But yeah, it's always interesting watching the meta shift. Mid lane, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like from at least from last PRL split, it's pretty the same. It's like the Ori picks,
Ori, Nivea, Victor,
Seraphine, and Nivea. Yeah, Victor, pretty much those champions.
Simeon.
Yeah, Yone for the more aggressive one. Tristana for a bit was a big pick. But
Tristana's more of a counter into State.
Yeah, Lucian's also been there for the more aggressive. But it's refreshing to see people like like Nuffies pull up the Lee Sin mid.
The Zed too.
Zed, yeah, watching the Zed from like Otto and Nuffies has been also great to watch. Even we even saw Veneris. He played set the other day. So it's always interesting watching these not so conventional mid lane picks, or these safe control mages getting played.
Yeah, I feel like mid lane is the lane that you can get away with the most in. It may be that the meta is the Ori's the Syndra's control mages, but you can do pretty much whatever you want in mid, and that's pretty refreshing, honestly. As a jungler, it's refreshing because it means that my picks don't necessarily have to be limited. Obviously, I'm gonna default to the Rumble and the Udyr, but if my jungler wants to play something wacky like a Kiana, or my mid laner rather wants to play something wacky like a Kiana, or like even like a artillery mage like a Xerath or a Ziggs or something, like I can then mold my pick around that, since it's not like he's just inting by doing it.
No, yeah, it's pretty ironic, right? Like you said, mid laners have the most flexibility of what they want to play, but a lot of them are still give me the Victor, give me the Orianna, let's play it safe.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's definitely the I would say like the best top laners are those that not top laners, mid laners are the ones that are willing to go outside of that comfortable control mage kind of pool and go into these riskier picks, or even like really like maybe not so crazy but a little more out there like Lee Sin, because that's why Novice is the best mid laner in PRL, at least in my opinion. That's part of it too, right? Just because he has the confidence and skill to pull.
Man, when
Hold on,
went
like that.
playing against that Oriana and still just became a team fighting monster and got the MVP. It made up for me inting top playing the first like 20 minutes of Swain, so that's always good. Right back. I'm getting a phone call.
No problem. And we're gonna close out the podcast here very soon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, martial arts for why? Thank you. You're still there. Can you hear
I'm
me?
heading out.
Okay.
Have a good one, gentlemen.
Have a good one too, Marshall. Thank you for joining us here.
My pleasure.
To you all as well. To Shark Bacon in all his hats for joining us. To Noah. I know it's your first time here in PRL. Hopefully you are enjoying your time as well. And just enjoy the rest of the season. I'm pretty sure it'll get better for your second time in PRL, since a lot of great changes are coming our way. Guaranteed. Love you all so much. You know what I mean? The true lover of PRL, right? I'm the last one standing out of every other person that said they loved it as well. Not as much as me, because I have not left or even thought about leaving ever.
True.
To Zol, thank you so much, Zol. Good luck to the rest of Dorado. You guys are working hard. I love it. And it's honest work too. It's honest work. Hoshi as well. Honestly, you're working hard too, but now you got a lot more on your plate with all these other competitive AD carries that are looking pretty good too. So keep up with the veteran status and try to keep up to your own status quo too, to continue on that trend that you have been on, right? You've been on this pedestal for so long for being one of the best AD carries. Recently, there's been other AD carries kind of shining above you in a little bit of this point. But you know what? When we get to playoffs, then we could talk real big about who's the best AD carry, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm still watching them. They can put me wherever they want.
Once again, thank you, Noah, to Martial Arts, Zol, Sharkbait, Hoshi, to anyone and everyone watching. Thank you all so much for joining us on this podcast. Hopefully you all enjoy. Have a great rest of your evening, morning, night, or afternoon, or maybe if you're enjoying your dinner, enjoy the rest of your dinner or whatever it is, wherever you are watching. Thank you all so much. Much love to you all, to the community of PRL. Let's end this season strong, and let's come back with an entirely new, different outlook to better ourselves here for the competition, for competitive, and also for just the love for League of Legends, man. We all love a good game of League of Legends, right? Like that's the whole point of playing with teams. But anyways, we're gonna see you all then. Thank you so much. Take care.
I'm cutting dice. Look at these eyes. They're not here to please you. There was a time you could be mine. Before all that you put me through, I knew that you were trouble, but I let that you were bad. need you to like me, don't need you to like. You can watch me go, cause I don't need you to like me, don't need you to like me, don't need you to like.